the process that I guess Brian Kelly was utilizing to. Do we know what the genesis of the dancing with the recruits was? Like, I'm being genuinely serious here, because these are conscious choices that big programs are making to make I guess what a cool atmosphere. Come hang with us. We'll dance. We'll have fun. We'll make videos together. Or Brian Kelly is doing things that he would never have done or imagined to have done, in the staid shadow of Rudy and Notre Dame, that the kid he's dancing with, 8 million people saw it, went to Alabama when it's all said and done. Is that actually is what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing on that. So some of this social media fodder and some of these, like, the Brian Kelly dance performances, this isn't the first one that he's done.
Right.
He's been at LSU. The first time was with Walker Howard, who was a 5-star quarterback who had been committed to LSU, and basically, I guess, asked Brian Kelly, he was like, trying to convince him to come up there and dance with him. This other kid who was a tight end in state decided, was doing it. Brian Kelly went with it, and I think for a lot of people, they were like, because of what you said, this was not like, he's always been kind of a wild, quirky, silly guy. And this was like, wait a minute, the buttoned up guy from Boston who was at Notre Dame, like all of a sudden now he is getting his freak on in these videos at 60 years old. And, coupled with that, with the bogus accent, the family, whatever he did at the basketball game in front of, on the microphone, where I think it was a joke that fell flat, that the bit kept on going on. But because of the videos and that, I think people were like, okay, what is he doing? And in the guise of it, I think some people at LSU were looking at going, well, the kid, the recruit, saw that he got this thing, funny or not, silly or not, got over 5 million views at the time. And it's like, well, if that entices the kid to want to play and be part of Brian Kelly's program, so be it. We'll be part of it. And, the fact that this kid ended up leaving the state and going to play, I'm going to go play for Nick Saban instead. Everybody's like, wait a minute. Brian Kelly did that, opened himself up to ridicule, and then the kid doesn't even go there. It's kind of an egg on your face thing. Now, in fairness to LSU and Brian Kelly did get a 5-star linebacker, a top 10 recruit, to commit to him, an hour or two later. I mean, that's the nature of recruiting.
Sure.
I feel like is one thing that blows up in your face, and the other thing, works out much better. And, people only remember the embarrassing stuff depending on what perspective you have.
Well, I'm just wondering what the metrics are in recruiting now. I mean, we're just talking about, money and under the table or over the table, but we're calling it NIL, or we're not. Viral videos and things like that, and it just seems like the game is totally changed, and that we're watching it change, and we didn't even talk about Caleb Williams doing what we all assumed he was going to do the minute Lincoln Riley left for USC. He's now at USC. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I feel like the game is totally changed, and we still don't know how it's changed just yet.
Well, there has always been a farcical nature. I did a recruiting book, Meat Market, 15 years ago, and there was a lot of just stuff where you just kind of like scratch your head and be like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. And because what it comes down to is grown men, in this case a 60-year-old, but often 40, 50, 60-year-old men courting 16, 17-year-old BMOCs and stars in their community and their families and maybe their girlfriends and whoever else, to try to woo them to their place. And whatever they think works at the moment, whether it's something that's definitely not above board, whether it's, paying them cash or doing, giving no-show jobs or whatever it is, or just being super goofy in the moment because you think it's going to endear you to somebody, or you think it's going to get you attention. Now, because we have social media, there's all a footprint of this stuff, or there's a footprint of a lot of it. And so I think this is it's already so far down the road, and it's only going to get more so because some of this stuff works. Some of this stuff is effective. And, it's like, I mean, not to make it a social commentary, but you have a lot of people who have like millions of followers on social media, and people aren't exactly sure why, but they have big followings. And so I think this kind of dovetails with that, where a lot of players will end up going to sign for school. And who knows, a year from now, 6 months from now, they may transfer and go someplace else. I mean, the crazy thing with signing day is, and this has gone on to some degree, but I think it's more widespread now, is like just because somebody signed at a school and didn't pick your hat, a lot of those schools are still going to keep recruiting behind the scenes to get that kid to leave. And that's the kind of stuff that is going on. And I think that's why the whole, this part of college football is such a, I don't know, Jimbo Fisher's word, such a clown act. There's a real element to that.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.